I fell unconscious after colliding into a pileup, and I woke up to hear an emergency broadcast on the radio. I guess I should begin by introducing myself. My name is Richard Jensen. I'm 46 years old and I've been a FedEx driver for just over 12 years now, but that's beside the point. You don't need to know about me, you don't need to know about my life. What you do need to know is that we're all in danger and that we're running out of time. The time was 9:41 a.m. It was a normal day, just like any other. I was carrying out another delivery job from Charlotte, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia, consisting of scattered parcels that needed to be transported to the shipping facility. I had just pulled onto I-85 when I began to notice the confusion of those around me. It was subtle at first. A driver, every now and again, slowing down, glancing up, passengers pulling out their phones, seemingly videoing the sky. I wasn't worried about it at first because I truly was not expecting anything extraordinary to be taking place. Perhaps it was a rocket launch, a low-flying plane, or something else of the sort. I continued on, doing my best to stay focused on the road. And then things began to get more noticeable. Drivers around me began to pull over, step out of their vehicles, and stare at the sky. People on the opposite side of the highway began swerving, keeping their vision fixed on whatever was happening above. Starting to get more concerned, I attempted to follow suit and pull over on the side of the highway, praying that my boss wouldn't be on me for a late delivery. As I began to change lanes to get to the side of the road, chaos ensued. Drivers on the opposite side suddenly began driving into each other, causing multiple vehicles to flip and collide with others. People on my side began slamming on their brakes as the wreckage from the other side began to spill into ours. Cars would flip over the barrier into our lanes, causing everyone to swerve and attempt to avoid the burning, flying hunks of metal coming our way. I did my best to avoid the debris, and other drivers moving to avoid the wreckage, but I could only do so many maneuvers in an 18-wheeler before I ultimately collided with another car and joined the pileup. The time is now 10:02 a.m. I awoke to the sound of an emergency broadcast blaring in my ears. It was surprising to hear the radio still working at this point, considering the cabin of my truck was reduced to a mess of shattered glass and misshapen metal. The broadcast was mainly static, but I believe I had a rough idea of what was said during the transmission. I'll transcribe it below. This is a civil defense alert issued by, taking effect as of 9:45 a.m. and event of unknown magnitude has occurred. This alert is automatically being broadcasted due to the failure of response from multiple government bodies. This message will repeat until 9999. The alert cut off there, just to be immediately followed by the signature alert tones, and it began again. Shaken and lightheaded, I looked through the wreckage to find a seatbelt cutter. I stumbled upon it in the remains of the glove compartment and began to slice away at the fabric. In moments, I cut the seatbelt away and caught myself before falling into the pile of shattered glass below. I then reached up, pushed the driver's side door open, and pulled myself out before realizing that things were very, very wrong. I looked up towards the sky, and to my utter astoundment, I saw that the sun has now gotten closer. Far closer. As I looked up in amazement and confusion, I could see that the sun was taking up the large majority of the sky. I stared into the surface, mesmerized by the pattern of the fire as it pulsed and moved throughout the star. Somehow I wasn't blinded, nor did I feel myself burning at the extreme proximity to the star. As I continued to stare, I began to see beneath the surface, and things grew far more unsettling. There were these tendril-like objects moving throughout the star at rapid speed, seemingly reaching out for me. The pattern of pulsing I noticed had become more rhythmic, almost like the entire star itself was a heart. It was drawing me in, corrupting my mind as it began to burn itself into my own mind. My thoughts were absorbed with the celestial object. Before I was lost any further, I forced myself to look away, the images still corrupting my mind. A voice at the back of my head told me to look and stare into its beauty. Worship it. Become it. I stumbled away from the wreckage, attempting to force these thoughts out of my head, running down the highway towards other wreckages, hoping to find other survivors. As I ventured down the road, looking left and right through the burning wreckage, that thing above me kept forcing its way into my head. I turned left and decided to run for shelter, trying to escape its gaze, before noticing a figure in the distance. It was far away, further down the highway, so I had to squint in order to see it. I could tell something was off, though, as its motion was erratic, staggered, but also energetic, almost as if it were dancing. I could see that its arms were moving up and down in exaggerated motions, flailing about. Its legs were making these incredible stretches, almost as if it was a cartoon character, tiptoeing to sneak up on someone. However, as fast as I noticed it, it noticed me. As it turned towards me, I could observe more about its features. To my dismay, it seemed that they had none. Instead of a face, it had a mess of melted flesh that was hanging off of its head, with a large hole in the middle of it. It had clothes, but they were tattered and burnt, with more burnt and melted flesh seeping through the ripped areas of its clothing. I only had moments to make these observations, however, as the thing quickly began its exaggerated tiptoe dance towards my person. I immediately began to run in the other direction. Luckily, I wasn't too far out of Charlotte, and I was able to find shelter on the outskirts of the city easily. I noticed the hellscape around me. Buildings were on fire, countless vehicles had collided with others or had been destroyed, and nearly every door I saw was broken down. Not just opened, broken. I didn't have a ton of time to look around though, as the creature behind me was much faster than anticipated. What seemed like thousands of feet of distance between us had now been reduced to mere hundreds, and it was gaining on me, fast. I took a quick right turn into one of the homes with an open door and immediately ran to the second floor. I ran into the nearest room and locked myself inside, realizing that I had chosen a small closet. I had no time to find a different room, however, as I could hear that thing rapidly approaching outside, its footsteps now in earshot. With every step, it sounded like it was walking on a pile of flesh and glass, most likely because it was. I frantically pulled out my phone and began writing this as a distress call, hoping that someone somewhere would find it. As I typed, I could hear it searching the house, the sound of wood and glass crunching as it approached. All the while, the images of that pulsating thing in the sky grew stronger in my head, slowly pushing me to the edge of sanity. As I struggled to push through the thoughts of the object and continue writing, a new alert message began playing through my phone. Hello. Ed. Warning is in effect for Richard Jensen. It is too late to run. Step outside and welcome it. Look out your window. It is too late to resist. As I finish typing this message, I can hear it coming up the stairs now. It's too late for me, but there may still be time for you. Please, if you're reading this, you need to run. Find shelter, hide, and don't look back. I think I do need to take one last glance outside of the window. Now.